Welcome, everyone, to another episode of That's Some Crazy Shit with Kelly and James. I am one of your hosts, Kelly, and my co-host, as always, is James. How's it going, dude?
Things are good here. How's it going over there?
Things are fantastic. We are going to pick up where we last left off last week, where James had said that, one of the reasons why we do the podcast is because he wanted people to be able to come forward with their paranormal experiences and share. And then we found out that he had one of his own, or actually he has more than one, that he is going to share with us today. So we don't have like a set topic besides it being James's paranormal experiences. I guess that's what we'll call it.
Dun, dun, dun.
But before we get into all of that, and I will say before we go there, James, you've told me some crazy shit. You've had some truly strange experiences. So I think this will be really good to just really get into this and talk about this, and getting your story out there, because I think you're ready.
Yeah. It's funny because, like you say, I encourage people, come out and share your stories, and then I was really reluctant. I really was, And I told you, Kelly, because, you know me better than anyone. You've known me longer than anyone, and you're like, I can trust you. And I think, I guess maybe I've learned to trust our listeners, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know so much of it is if it's trusting the listeners, but I think that you're probably feeling more comfortable because you realize that a lot of people have experiences, right? So maybe you don't feel so alone in your experiences.
That does make sense.
So maybe that's it. But before we get into all of that, the meat of the show, I wanted to just talk about crazy shit that's happened during the week, and just talk about it. I'll read you the stories that I found. So the first one was the big Egyptian find that they found. I think it was back on the 17th of January, and it was found by an archaeologist, Dr. Zahid Zawas. And they found.
He's a big guy.
So they found this burial site in Memphis. Saqqara is an ancient burial site in Memphis, Egypt, which is about 20 miles south of Cairo. And they had been excavating this site for a while. Now, the pyramid they found in 2010, but they didn't know who it belonged to. There was no name. And that pyramid sat next to the pyramid of King Teti. And King Teti was the first king of the 6th dynasty of the New Kingdom. He ruled from 2023 BC to 2291 BC. So they knew about him, right? They knew about him, but they didn't know who this other pyramid belonged to until recently. And they found out that it belonged to Queen Nerat. And the strange thing about Queen Nerat, James, is that until this time, they've never heard of her. They've never heard her name, and they've never heard of her. And so the things that I were reading saying that basically it was rewriting history as we knew it, right? Because there's this queen.
And that's funny. I had talked about this with some other people about rewriting history and changing, scientific knowledge if you gain more knowledge. And I know from what I know about ancient Egypt, sometimes they would either erase someone from their history if they were just horrible, or if they were very successful, they would erase them from history and then insert themselves and take credit. So either she was very, very successful or very hated, which she may have been successful and therefore she was hated.
Yeah, so in this, in around the main temple, they found 22 tombs. Those tombs contained 54 wooden coffins that are at least 3,000 years old. There were 52 burial shafts, and these shafts are anywhere from 33 to 40 feet deep. And the burial chambers are expansive. They're big. What they found with her, 13-foot long, 3-foot wide papyrus scroll of a complete chapter from the Book of the Dead. And the Book of the Dead is a spiritual book that is provided to you when you die so that you have instructions on how to get to the afterlife.
It's like in Beetlejuice where they have the manual.
Yeah. So I just thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
They've never found the Book of the Dead in a burial chamber like that. That's the first one. Not to mention, they've never heard of this queen either. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So that was the first one I wanted to bring you. The second one isn't a news story, but it's a news story to me, but it's not like front page news. So, anybody who knows me knows that I love to play Scrabble. And I love to play Scrabble on my phone, right? And so for a long time, the Scrabble game, which I think was put out by EA, was just the regular Scrabble game. You just played Scrabble. But EA sold the game to a company called Scopely. And Scopely like dressed it up, and now you can get like gyms, and they have tournaments, and they made Scrabble all sparkly, right? As opposed to just being what it was, which is a word game. So I play Scrabble. Okay, so I play, it's called Scrabble Go. The new game is called Scrabble Go. So I play Scrabble Go. And I have like 22 games going on, right? And when you play, you can have a profile picture. You can get frames to go around. You can earn them by playing different games, and you win gems and all this other type of stuff that just isn't Scrabble because you just simply want to play Scrabble. But I play because I like Scrabble. So anyway, I got all these games going on. I got like 20 games going on. And James, let me tell you, I really thought I was like the Scrabble master. I've got 20 games going on. I'm winning every game every single time. I'm killing these people. The scores are like Kelly 350, Sarah 175. And then after the game would end, Sarah would come back for more punishment. And this was going on since like June, right? So I'm thinking I am the Scrabble master. I got Sarah. I'm playing Remington. I'm playing Mark. I'm playing
And I'm owning
Steve.
all of them.
I'm owning every last one of them, right? I am killing them. Sometimes my Scrabble score gets as high as 400. I've got like this long ass winning streak, right? Nobody can beat me. I am the queen of Scrabble, right? This is what I'm really thinking. But then I really started thinking about it because like sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I can't get back to sleep. It's like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'll be like, oh, well, let me just play my turn of Scrabble, right? But I noticed that when I play, they all play back. Like all of them. I'm like, oh.
They were all awake?
Are they all awake? Or I wonder what time it is where they are.
Yeah,
but it's not really. Yeah, right. It's not really catching on. So it wasn't until recently that I was reading something and it caught my eye that somebody had said everybody that I play on Scrabble is a bot. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Is everybody that I'm playing on Scrabble is a bot? Because the things that this person was describing was the same thing that I was experiencing. That they play very badly, right?
Well, yeah, you don't want to get your ass kicked. You're not going to go back.
I noticed that what I did, so when you play Scrabble Go, you can go look at your opponent's profile so you can see their stats. And I noticed that all of these people, all 20 of them, joined on the same day. August 19th, 2019. All of them joined on that same day. So now I'm thinking that these are not real people. And they play badly. They like never have ever won a game. Right? You look at all the games they've played, they've never won.
Like and 5,000 or something.
So I figured out that everybody that I am playing on Scrabble Go is a bot. and I am not that great of a Scrabble player because one of the characteristics of the bots is that they play very poorly.
Very poorly, and all this time you're like,
and so all this time, every time Sarah would come back, I'm like, coming back for more punishment,
yeah,
Sarah?
You want some more?
And Sarah's not even a real person. And I find that incredibly disturbing that I am playing all these bots and not real people. I just want to bring that up.
That's funny.
If you are a Scrabble master, you probably really aren't. You're playing these bots that aren't real.
Yeah, if there's one named Sarah that sucks, it's probably a bot.
But you see, the thing that makes it crazy shit to me is that they all have profile pictures, right? And
of like real people?
Yeah, these are like photos of people, right? And what tipped me off was this one dude that I play named Steve. And Steve is a horrible player, right? Me and Steve have played countless times since like June. Steve is horrible, but Steve keeps coming back for punishment, right? And I noticed that Steve's profile picture was on an advertisement for another game. So I'm like, well, wait a minute. That's weird. That's Steve from Scrabble, right?
That's weird.
So now
you know what's scary is these are photos of actual people. I mean, who are these actual people? Do they know that they're being portrayed as a really bad Scrabble player?
And then all of the profile pictures of the bots are always really good pictures, right? The pictures are always really, really good pictures. Like almost like professional, almost like professional pictures to be on your Scrabble Go profile. That's a giveaway too, that the profile is a bot. So
professional photo shoot should be your first clue.
Yes. And if they play very poorly, another tip off is if they play very poorly and they keep coming back for punishment. That is another, you figure a real person after like the 5th loss is going to be like, forget this, I'm not playing you no more.
Yeah,
but these guys, all 20 of them have come back to be punished by Kelly, and they're all bad playing Scrabble bots.
And you thought they were just like showing determination.
James, it took me so long to figure this shit out. And that's crazy shit to me. That I am not the Scrabble player that I thought I was. I have been playing very poor Scrabble bots. So
made my eyes water, Kelly.
Like I said, if that's you, if you don't know who you're playing, you could be playing a bot. So if you're a real person, you want to play Scrabble, let me know. But otherwise, I got bots. I got all bots.
Funny. I got bots.
So that's not a news story, but I just wanted to bring that up.
But that is some crazy shit.
That's crazy shit, and it's disturbing, and it really killed my Scrabble playing ego, and we are going to move on, okay?
Right.
We are moving on. So the last thing that I wanted to bring you was about the puma. So I had read an article where the eastern puma was officially declared extinct. And I wanted to read more about it because that was the first time I had heard about it. And I don't know, somebody had told me once that animals go extinct every day. Do animals go extinct every day?
Oh, I'm sure. You
think so? That's some crazy shit. Think about what you're saying. If animals go extinct every single day, that's a lot of animals, James.
That is. Well, they just found, new species of whale. So, at the same time we're losing a species, they're discovering new species. They did some deep sea thing by these volcanic vents, and they discovered like 200 new life forms. And then how do we know that things are going extinct that we don't even know exist? We haven't even discovered them yet, and they've gone extinct. So yeah,
that's true. So, but one thing that I was reading, because I wanted to dive more into that, because that's just what the headline said, right? And so in reading it, this is what I found, and I'll just read it to you. Taking the eastern pumas off the endangered list will enable eastern states, such as New York, to reintroduce western pumas, also called mountain lions, into the region. The last eastern puma killed in the wild was in Maine over 80 years ago. Hunters killed off the majority of these pumas in the 18th and 19th century. So this puma's been extinct for a while. This is not like...
Sounds like it, yeah.
Right, sounds like... And they just now took it off the list. So I thought that was kind of a misleading article. True, but misleading, because they killed off this particular type of puma, it sounds like, in the 18th and 19th century. 80 years ago.
Well, that's like releasing a headline saying, Flash, passenger pigeon now extinct.
Right. So, are passenger pigeons extinct?
Yeah, they have been for a very long time ago.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought pigeons were pigeons. Pigeons are just pigeons?
No, there's passenger pigeons apparently that are extinct. I'm sure.
Well, what do passenger pigeons, what did they do?
Fly around. I mean, they were just a huge... Well, the thing was, there were so many of them. Think of like in terms of buffalo. There were just so many of them. And so then they started hunting them, and, they would set up, I heard of them setting up nets and then like setting off flash pots or whatever to scare them into these nets, and, and then eventually they just killed them off.
So, but were they big?
Oh, well, pigeon size, so maybe, 7 inches tall, wingspan, maybe.
Wow, James, you are right. It says about September 1st, 1914, the last known passenger pigeon, named Martha, died at the Cincinnati Zoo. She was roughly 29 years old.
Yeah,
wow, so... I had no idea. I thought a pigeon was a pigeon. I learned something. Hey,
it's my pleasure to educate. That's what I'm here for.
Thank you. So that is all that I have. That was just some crazy shit that I thought went on. The Scrabble thing, which isn't news, but nonetheless disturbing. Yes.
But yeah, entertaining at the same time.
Disturbing. Anyway, James, let's get right into our topic, which is going to be, James's paranormal experiences. And I say that's plural. So let's go ahead and get into it. Catch us up to what we're talking about. So you went on a ghost investigation.
Yes, it was an investigation in a small theater in a small mining town called Magna. The theater's 100 plus years old. It's been used for many different things: restaurant, brothel, theater, storefront. The person who did it renovated it, hand dug a basement literally with a shovel. That's how the story goes. It was so long ago. And so when we went out there, I had some things leading up to where I'm going to talk about now. That we did an EVP. I didn't feel well. I thought I saw a shape in the corner of a room. So these are the things that happened previously. So then this is leading up to where we are now. When we go upstairs, I had an experience where I don't have a very good sense of smell. So for me to be able to smell things, I have to be really strong, or I can't really smell it. While we were up there, I smelled oatmeal, like oatmeal cookies. And so, my first thought is, what is that? Because I can't smell, I don't smell very well. And just a few feet away, a woman makes the comment, "Does anyone smell oatmeal?" And I hadn't said anything because I actually wanted to see if anyone else would say anything. And then the guy that was doing the hosting at the investigation told us that room we were standing near used to be a dressing room for the children when they did theater there. So it kind of makes sense. You would smell oatmeal. Maybe they're eating cookies or, oatmeal's a snack. I don't know. But that kind of makes sense. So we go to the other end of the room. They had set up a table. The host, and he was there with, a few other people that were helping him. And they sat at this table, and they had these rings, and they're like wedding bands, but they glow in the dark. So there's no protrusions or anything like that, And so he sets them on this table. And people are sitting around the table, and he hits it with a flashlight. And the room isn't dark. It's not lit. There's a large window that you're getting kind of ambient light from outside, so it's not totally dark. So he's hitting he puts these two rings side by side flat. He's, hitting them the light, and they start to glow. And he goes, use the energy from these rings, help communicate and stuff, and nothing happens. So he hits them again, they're glowing. He turns them so they're standing on edge, so that they can roll. And they're sitting side by side. And he says, can you show us you're here? Can you move these rings? So sorry, I start talking about it, and I get kind of caught up in it again. And these two rings, Kelly, they rolled about 6 inches forward and stopped. Okay. So I'm watching this, and I'm being kind of skeptical. I'm thinking, okay, well, is the table flat, whatever. And it was good that these people were there because they were asking these same questions out loud. One guy's like, well, is there an air vent? He's looking for an air vent. And one person pulled out their phone and, has a level app. And he checked the table, make sure the table was level. Everyone was sitting, maybe 18 inches to 2 feet away from the table when this is happening. So it's not like someone's bumping the table or anything.
Can you see underneath the table?
Yeah, you could. There's nothing. All you could see was the table legs and, maybe the other people's feet and, but no one was touching the table. So we're there and these rings are moving and the kid comes over and he tells me, well, they're blowing on the rings. He said that first, they're blowing on the rings. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, maybe. But then, as they kept doing it, and they did it several times, and I was noticing, what? These guys are sitting pretty far away from this table to be blowing on these rings. Possible, maybe, highly unlikely. And then I didn't say anything. We're sitting, and then the kid tells me, well, they're remote control. I'm like, what do you mean they're remote control? How are you going to, honestly, Harry, what kind of I've never heard of the technology where you could remotely control a ring. Okay, well, whatever. I didn't say anything. So then we're there, and the last time he hits it with the flashlight, they're glowing, and he says, thank you, I appreciate it. Can you give us one last sign? And these two rings, he set them side by side. They rolled opposite ways. Okay? One rolled off the table, fell off the table, landed on its edge, and rolled about 12 inches towards me, Kelly. Ooh, sorry, I got cold chills. Okay, so there's no, and like you said, magnet. Okay, maybe there's a magnet if they were both going the same way.
Yeah.
Now they're going opposite ways.
What happened to the second? What happened to the second ring?
I didn't watch the second one. I was watching the one roll towards me. And it's funny. The person I went with, they were taking video on their phone, and I've never seen the video. They still have it, And I've asked, God, did that happen? And they're like, well, yeah, James, I got the video. Yeah, but like you said, I didn't watch the other ring killer. I was watching this one roll towards me off the table. Like I said, fall on its edge. You roll something off a table, and see if it's going to land on an edge. Maybe tape 3 or 4 quarters together so it's the thickness of a ring. Roll that off the table and see if it lands, if you can get it to land on its edge.
I gotcha. I understand.
Okay, this is what's blowing me away. Then have it roll towards you. And I mentioned earlier when we walked in, the floor was still kind of tacky, and maybe that played a part in it landing on its edge. Okay, I'm trying to be, I'm asking questions, so, make sure I'm just not falling for this stuff, So maybe it helped it land on its edge. But then to roll, if it's tacky enough to stop it and land on its own, it should be too tacky for it just to roll.
Yeah. Anything else happen in that room?
Hold on a second. Let me compose myself because I'm remembering all this stuff. It's bringing back a lot of stuff. So, they tried it a couple more times and nothing else happened in that room. So then we went from the top floor all the way into the basement. And this is the basement the guy had hand dug. And it was, maybe 30 feet long, maybe 20 feet wide. And at the end, there's a doorway, and then it's like T-shaped. Okay. So there was other equipment available this investigator brought, and one of them was a FLIR.
So, I don't know what that is. What is that?
Forward-looking infrared, FLIR. So it picks up heat.
Okay.
All right. So my friend is using I don't remember what the meter is called that she was using. It goes from red to green, indicating if it's getting stronger and stuff. She had that, and I grabbed the FLIR to use. So we walk to the end of the room, and we go through this doorway, and you could feel it getting colder. It dropped 15 degrees easy. Oh, James, it's a basement. Okay, yeah, it's a basement. Basements get cold. Okay, that's cool. So in this T-shaped room, there's another, at the far end, there's 3 steps that went up to like this little closet. And then there was, on the bottom of the T, it's kind of hard to explain, but there's a couple of steps that went into this other little room. So we walk up, and the person I'm with is using her thing, and it's going more green, indicating there's something going on. I'm using that. You shoot it. It has like a little view screen. There's greens, blues, reds, and yellows, indicating temperatures. So I get this, and I'm kind of scanning the room. And I scan past her, and you can see her whole figure, her whole body. And then as I'm going to my left, I see like eyes and a nose and a mouth. And so you have to kind of picture, I'm going from right to left, and I see this, and then you know how you pull something away real quick so you can look past it?
Right.
So I pulled it off to the side thinking I'm going to see a face, a person, and there was nothing there. Okay, so, like I said, I'm kind of freaking myself out again. So then I get it, and I'm scanning it, and I can't see anything else.
Did that scare you, James?
It did scare me. It startled me because I wasn't expecting it.
What color was it?
Okay, so think eyes, and the eyes were really red, and down the nose was red, and then outside lining the red was yellow, and then it was, I think, green, and then it went into the room color, whatever the ambient temperature was, say blue or something. So you could see the face, the facial. There was no mouth.
Gotcha.
There's no mouth. It was just the eyes and the nose. So that kind of startled me, and the meter that she has freaking out. So we walked out, and I have to be honest, I was a little rattled. So we went up, and I remember I had to sit in this old chair that was there. I just had to sit and compose myself. And I remember this other guy's walking by, and I'm like, here, man, you take this. You just take this. I didn't tell him why. He didn't ask. I just gave it to him, And then as I'm sitting at this chair, I'm sitting in this chair composing myself, they had something going on in the corner. And they were like, oh my gosh. And, I couldn't even go over there, Cal, because I was so rattled from what I saw. I was still trying to process.
So let me ask you a question. Did they ever say why this location was haunted?
Not that I remember. I mean, that town is so old. I'm sure just being there, you know, for so many, literally, 100+ years. And I don't remember. I think they say the owner that did it may have died there. Oh, you know what? See, now you're triggering memories. These are things I forget, and this is another reason it's hard for me to tell this story, because different things trigger different parts, and then I'm all askew. So while we were in the first part, when we remember the part I was telling you was through the EVP, he had said that they had a death of a stagehand who was trying to walk. When you look up to the ceiling, it's just like a warehouse, and then there's steel beams. And I don't know why. I guess he was trying to walk across one and fell. So there's actually at least 2 deaths. One in the room where we had the lights flashing and all that going on, where I saw the shape, and then one in the basement. And I don't know if the guy died in the basement, but it's apparently the owner. So yes, there was 2 deaths there.
Okay.
So yeah, I was rattled. I really was. And I remember and it's funny because I've gone on investigations with this person before, and I remember when we first went, they're like, yeah, we're gonna go, and I'm like, okay, well, are you gonna say some kind of protection spell or something? And they looked at me like I was fucking nuts. And you know me, I'm not Mr. Religion, but I don't want to mess with this stuff either. I want to take precautions if I can. So I'm like, yeah, should we say a protection spell? And they're like, oh, why? And I'm like, no, that's not good.
Well, wouldn't the best protection be not to go at all?
Well, probably, but that doesn't stop it from happening. And
that's
if you want
true. I'm just saying.
No, and that's true. It's like we talked about. How long do you stay in a haunted house until it says get out? Later.
Well, if you know it's haunted, do you go in there? I mean,
but these people do. I did. Well,
I know. This is what I'm saying. I don't know. I've never gone on a paranormal investigation, and I don't know if that's what I consider. That's not on my bucket list. Let's put it that way. I'm good.
I think we could, though, Kel. I think you could go with me one of these times.
I'm good.
Fast forward to this investigation out in Magna. When we went in, before we went in, I didn't ask the person I was with. I just did it myself. I was just, please protect me. Please watch over me. And so then when we came out, it was the same thing. When I came out, I'm like, please, if there's something here, you are not allowed to follow me. I've seen this on these TV shows. I'm like, you are not allowed to follow me. You are not allowed to attach. I am protect, and I was saying this shit in my mind. After all this stuff happened.
Okay, so I want you to tell the story about your house, because this story truly blows my mind about how you met this woman and what she told you about your house. And you got it, because the whole story, James, is some crazy shit. From beginning to end, it is some crazy shit. So that, to me, is one of the most crazy stories I know. So tell that story.
Okay, so I'm on Facebook, and they had how Facebook has their match thing, for singles or whatever. So it comes up, this woman liked me or something, wanted us to talk, so I said hi or whatever. And we talked for, I don't know, maybe a week or so. And it was right before New Year's Eve. Literally New Year's Eve. And she messages me, and, what are you doing? Well, I'm not doing anything, staying home because we want to come and watch a movie. And me, Kel, I'm Mr. I don't like to go anywhere. Okay, So I'm like, sure. But I don't want to drive, because I too many drunk drivers or whatever hassle. And she goes, oh, no problem, I'll come and get you. So she comes to my house, and it's, I tell this strange woman my address.
And mind you, you had never met her before.
Not in person, no.
Not in person. About a week on Facebook.
Right. And this is the weird thing too, because you know me, So her and her daughter come and pick me up, and we're going to go to their condo or whatever. And it's interesting because then they end up driving me up to within a block of one of the places where I used to work. So we go, we sit down, we watch this movie, and we start talking. She starts telling me that she's a psychic medium. I'm like, okay. So we're talking. She's telling me she's done group readings for people, 30 people, and they do this and that. She sees people, she sees dead people, she talks to these people. Okay. And it's funny, I have to describe her because she's maybe a little older than I am, so maybe in her late 50s to early 60s, maybe. But she had this long silver hair. Not even like gray. Seriously, it was like long silver hair. So we're talking in this, and she's telling me on this. I'm like, oh, really? Yeah. And I tell her, well, I kind of believe in this stuff,
Well, wait, what did she do for a living? What did she tell you that she did for a living?
Oh, she was in law enforcement at first, okay? And she was telling me these crazy stories about when she was in law enforcement that are kind of paranormal related, So after I guess when she was in law enforcement, this stuff was happening, that's kind of when she discovered she had this gift or power, okay? So then she retired from law enforcement, and then that's all she did was she just did readings and these things, And she made a pretty good living at it. And so, we watch this movie, and we start talking about it, and it's getting late, and I'm like, maybe I could get a ride home and stuff. So we're coming home. And she's telling me some more of these stories about when she was a cop and stuff. And so she's dropping me off, and she pulls in the driveway, and I'm like, well, I appreciate it, thanks, And she's sitting there for a second. She goes, James, can I come in for a minute? And it wasn't even like, can I come in for a minute? It was like, can I come in for a minute? It's like, it was a different feeling. And I'm like, all right, sure. So we come in, and I open up the front door, I walk in, she walks in behind me, and she stops right in the doorway, and she just starts looking around my house. Not like looking at things, but kind of, how people are just kind of like looking to get a feel of things. And it was like she did that for, I don't want to say like 30, 45 seconds or so, a while, And she goes, James, you have spirits here and stuff. And I kind of knew that anyway. My mom passed away in this house. And so, that did surprise me. So she's like, well, yeah, and I hadn't told her this stuff, So she's like, yeah, your mom's telling me, about your house and stuff, And I'm like, okay, well, whatever, So we come in into our TV room, and it's funny because when my dad's here, he likes to lay on the couch, and we have a recliner that I sit in. So we come in this room, and this woman starts telling me, your mom's telling me about, the room. And she's like, your dad built this house, didn't he? And I'm like, yeah, he did. He pretty much did, He sheetrock and, framed all this house. And she goes, your mom keeps telling me, and she's pointing to the recliner I sit out. She keeps saying, this is Dad's chair. She keeps saying, this is Dad's chair. And I'm like, no, that doesn't work because my dad sits on the sofa. Well, this is how you don't think. My mom and sisters, they've called me Dad for years.
I know.
Yes, yeah,
I know.
And so, but it didn't connect right then, But I'm like, my mom was telling me that. She was telling her that was my recliner. That's where I sit. That was Dad's chair, But I didn't, So, yeah, it was really weird. And then she walks around the bottom of the floor, and she looks up to the stairs, and she tells me, James, you have a portal here. Okay, and it's funny because you always ask me, why did you ask this question?
Portal?
Yeah.
You had a portal?
Yeah.
Did you ask her what kind of portal?
No. Because I do. I just get so...
Did you ask her if she was seeing the portal, like, at that moment?
Well,
Like,
she saw it. She looked up and saw it.
so it was at the top of the steps.
No. Okay, so you know how my steps go up, and then off to the side, there's like a really big open area, and we got that big window, kind of.
Yeah.
That's where it is. So she says it's kind of hovering there.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, it was weird, and then so she tells me this stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, and I'm kind of in shock, all this stuff, oh God, I got a portal in the house, my mom's here, all this stuff. So then, I tell her goodnight, she leaves, and we talked maybe one or two other times, Kelly, and then I never heard from her again.
And she's gone. She's gone.
And she's gone off. I
can't find her.
Nope, I can't find her profile. She's like not on my messenger anymore. She's not on my friend list anymore. I can't find her. She had like a business page for her, her psychic medium business. That's gone. And it's one of those things. Maybe she just came. Maybe this person just came to show me and tell me this stuff, and that was their purpose. And now they're gone. But honestly, I looked for her for a few weeks. You
have a
gone.
portal. I don't know. If somebody said to me, hey, you have a portal. Okay, so wait a minute. Did she say what could come through the portal?
Well, these spirits. So like my mom, and these other spirits that are coming. And apparently we have more than just my mom.
Wow. So your house is haunted.
Yeah. And it's funny because, we talked to Rue and how she sees spirits. She's come over here and she's felt stuff. And it's funny because I've always asked her. There was one time that some weird things were happening. It was right after my biological dad had passed away. And I was hearing things, and it just didn't have... I've heard things before and it just didn't have the same feeling, So I asked Rue, I'm like, is there something going on? Is there something bad here? And she's like, no, there's nothing bad there. It may just be your dad, coming to let you know he's okay. But then after I talked to Ruth, things kind of died down and I never really quite had that feeling again. But honestly, Cal, I hear stuff here all the time and it freaks me out sometimes. Did I ever tell you about the Tickle Me Elmo doll?
The Tickle Me Elmo doll? No.
I never told you this?
No, tell this story. I don't know this one.
All right, so right before my mom passed away, she was really ill, and she wanted a Tickle Me Elmo doll. I have no idea why she wanted one. It used to make her laugh. And it used to squeeze the hand and it'd go, tickle me, whatever, And so we got her one, and she passed away, and so then we put it in an office with a bunch of other like teddy bears. She liked teddy bears stuff, so we put it in there. And one day I was walking upstairs and I heard the Tickle Me Elmo doll go off. Okay, and it's like, tickle me, and and I just kind of stopped, and I'm listening, and it did it a couple times. And I walked in the room and I'm looking at it, it's not moving or anything. And by this time, it's not saying anything else, And I'm just kind of looking at it. And I'm like, what's going on? It's kind of weird. Did I really hear that? So then, this happened a couple other times, And I remember I told one other person, they're like, well, James, why don't you see if it has batteries in it? Because it wouldn't work if it didn't have batteries, right? And I'm like, no, because that would scare me more. If I opened up that damn little doll and there was no batteries.
No batteries? Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever look?
Nope, never did. Because honestly, that would have scared me,
Yeah, I wouldn't want to know either.
It happened like 3 times, and it's been years, that, and it's never happened again, but it freaked me out.
Is it still in there?
Still in there, man. I haven't touched it. It sits right where it wants to be. If it wants to hang out, cool. But it's never said anything to me again, But yeah, that freaked me out.
Well, it never said anything to you the first time, James.
It might not have. I don't, that's one of those things you start asking, well, did I really? And I think sometimes that's when things like this happen, people question themselves. Hey, did I really see that face? Did I really see Bigfoot? Was that really a UFO?
Or what did I just see?
Right. And it's funny that you say there's a documentary that they did about people who've seen UFOs, and the title is I Know What I Saw. So, and it's funny because they're talking to these people, and every one of them says, I know what I saw. You know? And it's how do you tell these people the conviction, you know? Oh, you saw swamp gas. Oh, fuck that. You know, I know what I saw. It wasn't no swamp gas.
Right.
It's an interesting documentary. Yeah, it's called I Know What I Saw. You guys should check it out.
That's it's interesting that your house is a portal, and we've discussed portals, but what's even more interesting, I'm sorry, I have to go back to this because I don't know how I would be if somebody told me I had a portal in my house. I don't think I want to know, right? I'm good. I don't necessarily need to know if I had a portal, but now that you know that you have a portal, aren't you interested in like finding out more? I don't know, James. That's just weird. I mean, that doesn't bother you at all?
You know, it's funny. I never really thought about it, you know. We've talked about my family has known or believed a lot of this.
But didn't she say there were more than one? She said you have just one portal. Did she say you...
No, she said there was two, but she never told me where the other one was. You know, and then you have to remember, this all took place in a conversation. Maybe, I think it was maybe an hour she was here that she was just telling me this stuff. And it's funny because you always ask me, why don't you ask questions? And it's funny because I don't know. I don't know why I don't ask questions. Because after, it's like, wait a minute, where's that other portal?
Right.
Like you say, is it good or bad? Is shit gonna come through? We talked about Skinwalker Ranch. Hey man, I don't want no Bigfoot popping through my kitchen.
I mean, you just said that I just, wondering if somebody was to say to me, hey, you have a portal, you have two portals in your house. The first question that goes in my mind is, where? Where are these portals?
Yeah, see, and I didn't even think. She told me where the one was, and she never told me where the other one was. But then again, sometimes I think, well, maybe I'll just ask her next time.
And so you've had this paranormal experience with this woman who says she is a psychic medium, right? And she comes into your house and she tells you things that you guys never talked about, things that she would never know.
No.
She stays in your house for about an hour and walks around and tells you all these things about the house, right? And she says your mom is there.
Yeah.
And then she leaves. And you maybe talked to her once or twice after that, and then she disappeared.
Right. And like I said, I tried to find her both her Facebook pages, her profile, and honestly, she's gone.
See, James, that would classify as some crazy shit.
That's why we're talking about it. Because it is crazy
shit to me.
It is crazy shit.
That's crazy.
Some of, when I went fishing with some friends, what happened?
Well, what happened?
All right, so some friends and I had gone, my sister had a cabin, and it was kind of a remote location. And so we go to this cabin, we're gonna, go fishing in the area, hang out. We're taking some guns, we're gonna do some target practice, stuff. But yeah, we took beer because we were drinking, And so we're up there, it's later in the night, and the cabin was an A-frame cabin, and it had a deck. So you'd walk in the front door, and so there's the living room area, and then there's some stairs on the left that go upstairs, and then there's the kitchen area, and like a bathroom, and another bedroom in the back. And the only furniture was, a couple chairs, and there was a sleeper. And so, we were there around there at a stove, we were in the middle of the fire, we're sitting there, we're drinking, talking and stuff. And my one buddy goes, hey, there's someone out there. What are you talking about? Yeah, they've walked across the window a couple times. We had been drinking, none of us were drunk, we're like, you're drunk, whatever. He's like, no, man, there's someone out there. And you have to know this, my friend, well, you know him. Blackie, Blackie. And when he gets to a point where he's like, no, there's something, something's going on, because he's not just one of these practical joke guys, So we all kind of, get kind of quiet, and he's like, yeah, there's a guy who walked by a couple times. He's got a cowboy hat, so we're like, oh, we better check this out, So, and so we're in the middle of fucking nowhere, okay? So we go out, we're all walking around, sniffing around the cabin, okay? So then the trip ends and I come home and I'm telling my sister, I'm like, oh yeah, Blackie said he saw some guy, he was messing with us. My sister gets real quiet, she gets kind of serious. She goes, what did he look like? Well, he said it was this, elderly guy in a cowboy hat, kept walking across the deck. He saw him a couple times. And my sister says, that sounds like the owner. He died there. He was an elderly guy, used to wear a cowboy hat, and he died in the cabin. And this is the things I get coached as a kid. And I'm like, seriously, Blackie didn't know this shit. I didn't know this shit. And then she tells me a story about when her and her husband, my brother-in-law, were there with their son. They were laying on the bed, and my nephew was upstairs, and they watched this elderly cowboy guy come in through the front door, walk past the sleeper they were sleeping in, walk up the stairs. Okay. Now, my brother is a former Marine. Okay. So he knows how to take care of himself. She says he jumps up, grabs a pistol, runs upstairs looking for this guy. He gets up there and he asks my nephew, where's the guy? My nephew doesn't know what he's talking about. He looks all over. There's no other access down from upstairs other than the stairs he just went up. There's no guy. So they had seen this elderly cowboy guy there before we showed up, and we never knew anything about it.
He walked past them up the steps.
Up the steps.
Your brother-in-law went after him.
With a gun.
And there was nobody there.
Nobody.
Wow. That's some crazy shit.
That is some crazy shit. It's funny because they ended up selling the cabin after a while, but it's like, it was wild, because it was like, you're a bunch of guys, we're drinking, we're partying, and when your buddies start saying stuff, you're like, oh, you're just messing around, And then, like I said, it kind of took a serious turn once he his demeanor changed, But then when I was telling my sister, I went back to, oh yeah, he was messing with us. And then when her demeanor changed, she started telling me her story, And I'm like, seriously? And then I call Blackie and I'm telling Blackie, look, listen to this story, And he's like, seriously? That was one of the more wild ones. But no one else saw this guy, just Blackie.
Wow.
And we were all there in the same room.
And only Blackie saw him.
And only he saw him, yeah.
Wow. That's some crazy shit. James, thank you so much for sharing your stories. See? That's some crazy shit. And I never knew about the cabin one. I never knew about that one. I knew about the portal one, because that one that to me is some crazy shit. That's up there. That's up there.
It is, like I said, it's crazy because then she disappeared, she just is gone.
Yeah, she's gone. That's what even makes it more crazier. She's gone. So next week we'll be back with another episode. You can reach us on Facebook at K&J's Podcast. We are on Instagram, That's Some Crazy Shit, Twitter, and our email address is thatsomecrazyshitpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to share your story, just like James did, he actually shared 2 stories.
And I have some more. I do.
We would love to have you come on and be a guest, or you can just share your story anonymously, and we would be happy to share it for you. At any rate, thank you again for listening to us. We do appreciate it. This is Kelly.
And this is James, and thank you for listening. I do appreciate it. I know it takes time out of your day, and we appreciate it.
We do. Thank you for listening. Until next time.
Keep your minds open, people.